Hi, everybody. This is Lauren Baker with Search Engine Journal. Welcome to today's SEJ webinar with our special partner, CopyPress. We've done multiple CopyPress webinars in the past, and we're really happy to have you all back. With us today, as we'll be discussing how to discover the top 3 ways to build authority by going beyond just link building, we have Sabrina Hips and Jeremy Rivera from CopyPress. Hey, Sabrina. Hey, Jeremy. How's it going?
Hey, Lauren, doing great today. Excited to dive into another interesting topic. Thank you.
Happy, healthy, and ready to talk both links and more than links.
Let's talk links and more than links. It's not just about building links, right, or getting links. There's like lots of other opportunity outside of that. So I'm sure you're going to dive right into a lot of it. And just to let everybody know, before Sabrina and Jeremy get started, I'd like to do some housekeeping for those of you that are new to our SEJ webinars. First of all, you may notice some little emojis at the bottom of the screen. This gives us a chance to get some feedback from you when Sabrina or Jeremy say something that's really cool. So you can, if you want to test that out right now, if you're currently viewing, go ahead, hit the smiley, the heart, the hands in the air, whatever. Let everybody know that you're there and that you see the emojis. Also, we do have a chat box. So, I already see a lot of emojis popping up. So this is awesome. It's almost as cool as a Google Meet. So we also have a chat box. So also just, if you'd like to, let everyone know where you're coming in from. Jeremy, where are you based?
I'm out of Nashville, Cookeville actually, but everybody knows Nashville more than Cookeville.
Okay, so Nashville/Cookeville, Tennessee. Sabrina?
I'm in sunny Tampa, Florida.
Sunny Tampa, Florida. Amazing. So I'm in Santa Clarita, California, right outside of Los Angeles. And we already see people kind of chiming in, letting them know where we're from. We have London, we have Denver, we have Maine, we have Madison, Wisconsin. We typically get people on, more Tampa. Oh my gosh, Toronto, South Africa. So we have people on today from all over the world. Really excited. Santiago, Chile, Calgary, Alberta. Really a lot of Tampa. I don't woohoo, Tampa in the house. So a lot of folks chiming in right now. Really, really cool to see. Also, just to let all of you know, we'll be doing a question and answer session after the presentation is over. So the presentation usually takes probably between 35, 40, 45 minutes. As Sabrina and Jeremy are presenting, please feel free to ask questions in the question and answer area, the Q&A box. And what we'll be doing is we'll be picking some of the best questions or the most relevant questions and addressing them during that Q&A session at the end. Also, I believe we have 3 polls today. Is it 3? Yes, 3 polls today. So as we're launching the polls, we highly encourage all of you to go ahead and vote, or they're mostly multiple choice, super easy. That feedback from those polls really helps Jeremy and Sabrina craft their messaging in the presentation today and address some points that may be very interesting for all of you that are attending as well. So that's everything from a housekeeping perspective. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera and mic and let the 2 of you take over for the next 30 minutes or so.
Sounds great. So I'm the director of content analysis with CopyPress. And there's 3 different aspects of this topic that I want to explore. First is the artificial intelligent elephant in the room. What is the impact of AI on digital marketing, on creating content, how subject matter expertise and online authority are kind of intermingled, and what exactly is the benefit of outreach that's beyond backlinks? Because as a hardcore SEO, I've got links on the brain. I've done dozens of different link building campaigns of different types for different size organizations with all types of different methodologies. And it is really a challenge to step back and think about a bigger picture and provide you guys with some useful context. So everybody knows that ChatGPT has kicked off the hornet's nest. What most of you might not know is that really there has been AI-powered tools, machine learning tools in the SEO space for not just 4 years, but for really the past 10 years. We have had it in different iterations and different versions. There was content spinners back in early 2002 to 2010, where it would dynamically take one word and swap it out with 1 or 3 or 4 or 5, and it'd be new content. So ChatGPT coming along and getting the public's imagination engaged. There were actual real AI tools. Jarvis had to change its name to Jasper because of Iron Man threatening lawsuits. But ChatGPT comes along and kicks off all of this interest. So I want to hear from you guys. Have you tried ChatGPT, Bing chatbot? Sabrina, have you tried any of them?
I did. I've tried through Notion because we used that and it spit out a whole article and it was so strange. But yeah, really interesting. I certainly didn't publish any of the content though. I was too scared.
It's interesting what it can do, how it works. So Lauren, what's some of our results? So what's the audience doing with AI tools?
So I've gone ahead and launched the poll. The ABC choices almost match up with what's on the slide. So have you tried ChatGPT, Bing's chatbot, or another generative AI tool? Yes, and I'm actively using AI tools to create content. No, not using these tools to create content. Or yes, but I'm not using these tools to create content. Sorry about that. And then no, I don't plan on using AI content tools. Thus far, we've had 140 respondents chime in. And I'm going to go ahead and close it in a second, and I'll go through the final results. So if you haven't voted yet, this is your final chance. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm closing the poll, and here are the results. 152 responses. We have 43% say yes, not using these tools to create content. A very close 41% have come in and said, yes, I'm actively using AI tools to create content. Pretty close there. Then 15% do not plan on using AI content tools, or maybe at least yet. We'll see.
All right. Well, that's definitely useful because from my perspective, I think at this current iteration, now they just launched, I think, GPT-4 today. So I haven't had a chance to play with that yet. But in general, all of these tools are based off of machine learning. So generative AI, I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with that term, but that's the type of artificial intelligence that's used to generate unique content based off of what it's been trained on. Because we've been using AI in programs and systems for the past 10, 15 years to control trains. The majority of bank transactions have some form of artificial control. There are whole warehouses now that are moderated, directed, and controlled by types of AI and machine learning. So generative AI is new and different, the fancy dog in the room. So the thing that my perspective is that AI content generators can't actually think for themselves the way that humans can. Did you ever watch Star Trek, Sabrina?
No, but give it to me anyway.
So Data, he was an android, and he went through all these journeys, these iterations of becoming human and what's not to be human. We're not even scratching close to the surface of something like an android or a personality. So when you see these hyperbolic articles out there of Bing's new chat is leaking a dangerous personality, what's actually happening is that people are aggressively feeding these chatbots prompt after prompt after prompt to try to get it to respond in specific ways. And so if you've seen it get aggressive or angry, it's doing that based off of the prompts that it's been given. So if we're thinking about the world of content creation, showing your expertise, there are things that it can't do. Like you said when we were discussing this, AI can't have first-person experience. It doesn't have expertise. It has the training documents that it's been given. So one great example of this is, this prompt of what's in the basement of the Alamo. And it looks like a great, reasonable response, right? It says, the basement of the Alamo is not open to the public. There's no evidence to suggest there's anything significant. But you step that back and you see the post from the Alamo official source. There is no basement in the Alamo, never has been. And if you want to go and visit a basement there, you'd have to go to the gift shop, which is next door. So it authoritatively writes something that is inaccurate. It's like my dad. My dad is the biggest BSer, silver tongue guy. You ask him a question and boom, gives you a great answer about the invasion of the Mongols into Eastern Europe. And then you kind of dig a little bit deeper and that sounds good, but is that quite right? Did he actually answer the question? And you look at even Bing promotional material. So ChatGPT is one thing. Bing has its own Promethean process, which I think is really cool. I think it's better than ChatGPT because you have huge problems with citation. ChatGPT has this really cool ARC process where there's the query space, the AI chat, and the user, and it kind of goes back and forth and taps into it in this kind of circle. But it missed something. Even in their promotional material, the query was arts and crafts using only boxes, plastic bottles, and papers and strings. And they published this, but if you look at the result, it gives a bunch of items that were not boxes, plastic bottles, paper, and string. So there's challenges to be overcome in the prompt. And because it's a generative model, it makes stuff up. So if you ask it about who are some popular British journalists and then ask for some of their articles, they'll give you them. But if you fact check this, these don't exist. And just for credit's sake, I did go to PubCon. I'm sharing a couple of those slides from here because everybody at PubCon touched on this. So I'll give due credit in the deck for any slides that I'm sharing here, because everybody there touched on it multiple different times. So it's a language model, and it sounds really good, but it has its limitations, and it's not a thinking machine, and how we use it is going to have an impact. Have you searched for any recipes recently?
Always, yes. Always looking for a quick recipe. Not stumbled across any of those on the screen yet, though.
So if you do add to any particular query, regenerate response, so bean sprout recipe, generate response, you'll find a surprising number of sites that are copying and pasting directly from ChatGPT, because at the bottom, and once you put in your chat, it gives you the choice to regenerate your response. People are just copying and pasting and moving it over into their content, which is kind of a bigger issue, because as a larger and larger segment of the marketing publishers get access to these tools, or have subcontractors who have access to these tools, we're going to start drifting. Because have you been camping and pulled out a compass? Have you tried navigating in the wilderness?
I have, and my husband's in the military, so he certainly is familiar with this concept as well.
So if you only have a compass and you try to head north, you're going to be off course a significant amount within even a few miles. And so these errors, lack of citations, this making things up is already starting to show up. I showed you all those recipes that got their sources from God knows where. Certainly not, kind of just regurgitating stuff that might not actually be true. So there is a true north, and the larger the segment of the market that is using content generators that just look at an existing trained database, only those that are sticking to the true path are going to be on course. There's going to be more and more flood of inaccurate information. So this is where I'd like to poll again and kind of see how are you guys approaching your topical content? Is it in-house? Is it outsourced third-party tool like Textbroker, a content marketing agency? I write it myself, or others?
And I've gone ahead and launched this poll. So we have answers coming in already. So again, who is writing your topical content? A team of in-house writers, an outsourced third-party tool, a content marketing agency. I write it myself, all by myself.
All by myself. It's hard. I have my own separate project where I write on a regular basis, and it's definitely a different experience than being part of an agency. I've been in-house, I've freelanced, I've consulted, and been part of an agency. So and part of an agency that uses a third party, and part of an agency that uses another agency that also has a third party. So it can get kind of complicated.
It can be. There can be a little bit of a hello game going on there. We have quite a bit of people that have actually answered in the comments. A combination of all of the above, mostly themselves, but then sometimes they utilize in-house writers, pool of freelance writers, content creation team. Well, let's go ahead and look at the specific results. So I am going to, one moment, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. 163 respondents, and here are the answers. 47% use a team of in-house writers.
Okay.
32% write everything all by themselves.
Oh, all right.
That definitely scales, doesn't it? 10% other. Let us know in the comments. So we got a lot of comments that came in around that. 8% are utilizing a content marketing agency, and 3% are utilizing an outsourced third-party tool itself. And it looks like in the comments, we're still getting more and more people using the A team plus themselves, a combination, being the all-in-one person. AI tools are a game changer, and a number of quality deliverables I'm able to produce, everything else. So a lot of really cool answers coming in. And what do you think about in terms of 32% are writing the content all by themselves?
Well, you guys are attending this particular session and journal, so it does make sense you guys are going and trying to learn more and probably have a small project or two. But it's good to know that which audience I'm addressing. Now, the person that's using the A team, I'm wondering if you're using BA Baracus or which member of the A team. So I think Chris is using the A team, and me. I'd like the A team to write my content too. So now I want to kind of pivot and talk about this kind of middle aspect, because we're talking about AI has this authority problem, right? They can't yet, they don't have first person experience. So we have this advantage, we can create authors, we can gather authors, we can publish ourselves and use that to increase the value of the content as we present to our audience who we're writing for. Sabrina, how do we leverage that at CopyPress?
Yeah, this is such a big piece of what we do at CopyPress is sourcing subject matter experts for our clients. So exactly like you said, AI doesn't have first-person experience. They're parroting back information that is already existing on the internet. So going out and finding the people who are doing these jobs or experts in these jobs, well researched in them, it really helps give additional authority to the articles because you've got that experience that you get to pull from. So this is probably one of my favorite topics. I like to say I'm trying to become the SME on SMEs.
So there's some really interesting studies that are going on right now about people's reaction to content that they know has been created by AI and the amount of confidence that drops when you add a label that discloses that content is created by AI. There's kind of some finagling by Google in their documentation to try to push authors and sites that are using AI to generate this content to disclose who is authoring it and if there is AI contribution to that. We haven't yet reached a pushing point where they're asking for a no follow type attribute for AI generated content. I don't think it's completely outside of the realm of possibility. Right now, I'm not seeing it or any rumbling of it, but there is a lot of information in the Quality Raters guidelines about Google trying to understand who is creating these author details. If you do a search in Google for author, biology author, it'll show you a set of people that it knows about, faces and names. And so it is starting to build that. In 2010, 2012, actual authorship, rel authorship markup was definitely a thing. You were encouraged to, mark up your authorship and connect your profile here and there. We're 10 years beyond that point, and Google wants to see things and has done specific last released core update in May 2022 was the first one that really focused on the EAT principles, which I'm going to touch on next. But these are physical things that you can do to your page. Specifically, make sure you create detailed author bio pages. Don't just do, the writing team or admin. Don't leave your content in limbo as to who published it. Try to connect it to a person. I know in several organizations, larger red tape bureaucracies, there can be some sticking points about who gets, who gets to say that they created that. Are we going to put it under the CEO's name? Are we going to, what if this person leaves the organization? So sometimes there's contracts involved saying, hey, we're going to publish this and it's going to remain published with your name, even if you leave us. And those are conversations you need to have with your content team, your content agency team, that 13% that are with a content marketing agency. You need to have that discussion in the upfront of who internally can we publish? Do you have an influencer that you can tap? Do you have authors? I'm sure that we run into this of reaching out and getting authors who have credentials and making sure that those surface in some way.
Yeah, of course. And that's always the challenge. And oftentimes, and I think there might be a slide a little bit further out, is finding a subject matter expert that also is a very strong writer does not always vibe. Someone who might be an expert in waste management might not be a strong writer. I am an expert in Real Housewives, but I am not a strong writer. So that's another huge benefit that we have here at CopyPress, and you can employ in your own tactics, is pairing a subject matter expert with a strong writer that can interview and interject quotes, or that subject matter expert can serve as the person to review the content, check for factual inaccuracies, and really add that extra layer of experience that a well-researched writer might miss because they're not an expert in Real Housewives of Miami.
So if you have tried to buy something in the previous year on Google, then I'm sure you've struggled with this like I struggled with it, of trying to find a SERP result that wasn't just a clever rewriting of the manufacturer's description, trying to find somebody who had bought this specific vacuum, because you go and there's 14 different versions of something that looks the same on Amazon, and you know that those Amazon descriptions are just rewritten, regurgitated. So trying to find some source of truth, something to trust. This is why Google added an E to the EEAT. So disclaimer here, EAT and EEAT are not specifically ranking factors. However, they represent in the quality raters guidelines that Google publishes for their team of people that fix and coordinate. They give feedback to the search engineers to fine tune the algorithm. So understanding what it is that they're looking for to define what is a good website is important. It's not the same as saying a title tag can move your rankings. You have to have EAT. I don't want to come off as that guy, but this kind of represents thinking a model of understanding what it is that Google is trying to reward with a specific and limited signals that you can manipulate or change on your site. So there's expertise and experience. So experience is, firsthand grabbing something, pulling it apart. You've seen this thing in person, versus expertise. You've had experience building these things, or are an expert, have learned how they're interconnected with each other. Because I know some really clever writers, and I could give them a subject to research, and within a day or two, they could give me an article that sounded pretty darn good. I'm sure have run into people who are really good writers, but the ability to write is not the same as expertise. It does cut both ways. So we were talking about how that affects the content that you create. So if you're not able to spot inaccurate sources that are referenced in the first place, then your next step from that is going to be off base. And that's why AI gets tricky. And the more content that's out there that's generated by AI, those sources are a little less trustworthy. There's a lack of nuance when you're just making it up based off of small amounts of research versus deep knowledge, because you can't address downstream impacts. This changed this, therefore, this change in our software affected this design flow, and it affected how you use the tool in this particular way. And using the tool in that particular way, that's the query that people are searching for. They're trying to figure out how to do what it is that they do based off of this change. So if you don't have that expertise, it can be hard to write accurately. So I think we got another poll here, Lauren.
Yes, we do. Final one of the day. So launching right now. Do you consult with subject matter experts when crafting content? Selection A is yes. Subject matter experts write the content. B, my team interviews subject matter experts and then writes the content. Not yet, but I plan to soon. No, and I don't plan on working with subject matter experts at all in the future. Okay.
Ever.
No subject matter experts. That reminds me of a story real quick. One of my first SEO jobs was with a company that did like vinyl siding and fencing. And I would have this guy, and he would call me every morning, and he'd just tell me these crazy stories about the world of vinyl siding and fencing. And then like one day I'm like, hey, we should write some blog content on your site about what you do and about the world of siding and fencing and backyard decks and everything else. And he's like, well, I don't know what we would write about that. What would we write? So what I did was I just recorded one of our conversations one day and transcribed it. And like what you just talked to me about today is a 3-page essay on the world of vinyl siding and much better than aluminum or wood. And I was like, wow. So subject matter experts, sometimes to your point, it's hard to find that unicorn that's an expert and can write at the same time. So
Yeah,
glad we're talking about this.
It's definitely true. It's one of the challenges of creating content, because I've worked with, a guy who couldn't write an article to save his life, but I did what you did. I sat down with a recorder and turned his spoken content into, a valuable article, and I just asked him questions, which is a great segue to the next slide, because if you need expertise, ask questions. If you want to build better content, use Outreach to actually gather expertise. Want to know how to stomp on Bowser? Well, ask Mario.
Exactly. And that completely lines up with the results that we got from the poll as well. So we have 41% have said, yes, my team interviews subject matter experts and then writes the content themselves. 26% have not yet, but plan to do so soon. 21% have subject matter experts actually writing the content, and then 12% have no plans whatsoever in working with subject matter experts in the future. So the vast majority is either interviewing, to your point, and or subject matter experts are doing the writing, which is super cool.
Yeah, it's definitely great to hear you guys are tapping. Maybe you guys are writing about SEO, and you are SEOs, and that's why we have so many people who are generating their own content. But this is a link building tactic as well. So don't ignore this part of it. So gather 3 to 10 questions, or focus on a single question, and look in your niche industry space around you for who you can send these questions to. But once you get those responses, create a graphic that includes their quote and send it back to them when you publish, saying, oh, hey, thank you so much for your contribution. I know you wrote about this 2 months ago and touched on this subject in this post. Here's your infographic if you want to include it with a small attribution. That's my lingo or catchphrase to say, can I get a link for that, for you including this? And that's a way for you to kind of do subtle infographic-based outreach that at the same time, as part of your content building mechanism, you're reaching out and getting experts to contribute. And don't forget that social media is fantastic for this. When was the last time you direct messaged someone on social media?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm a big Housewife fan, so I direct message some of my podcasters I listen to, and I almost always get a response back, which is so amazing because they are the experts in the field, and they are more than happy to talk about the subject they love and do every day. So,
yeah, don't devalue the value of people being able to talk about themselves, being able to self-promote. If you're giving them a venue and an opening, that's the value add aspect that's always missing in these stupid boneheaded emails I get all day, every day, saying, hey, we'd like to exchange links with you. Here's my DA5 site, my DA20 site. You open an email and it says anything about domain authority, just set it on fire, because domain authority is just a garbage metric for link building. But when it comes to social media, there's so many people creating valuable content. They're pushing their podcast, they're pushing their product, they're part of a marketing team. Look at how active. So here's the 4 steps. It's open for expert outreach. Okay, so observe, look at what people are posting and how they interact, participate, like, favorite, retweet, and comment a specific targeted person, engage with them at messaging and replying. Now, I'm leaning heavily on the Twitter model here, but you can do it on LinkedIn, you can do it on Facebook, you can do it in Discord, you can do it on Slack channels. I guarantee you, if you start out the week with 1 prospect or 5 prospect people, and through the week you progress from liking their stuff, favoring it, retweeting, commenting, and at messaging and starting conversations, by the end of the week on Friday, when you DM them that question, they're going to answer you like an old friend and not like a cold outreach spammer. It's really, really simple. Link building is marketing. Marketing is about building relationships. So I use this concept of marketing nexus to try to find allies. So if you're in health and wellness, think about everybody else that wants access to your target market and demographic and doesn't directly compete with you. So think if you're in health and wellness, you could reach out to gyms. You can look at life coaches, personal trainers, alternative health sites, juicing recipe sites. There's 101 different gadgets and gizmos with marketing teams and marketing budgets trying to push their message. If you're able to interact with the marketing team for that product or service and open that door to, hey, I want to feature you. What's your opinion on the Ab Repper 5000 or on ab exercises? You can catch them because they are willing to put themselves out there. They're like you. They're looking for those opportunities. So combining this outreach effort with that nexus approach helps you create relationships, helps you create connections that go further than just that link one time. You can also open the door to posting sponsored content. You can open the door to referral relationships. You can open the door to cross-marketing efforts across multiple different channels once you are speaking to somebody who speaks your language. And so this is where we start to open the door about going beyond links. And somebody asked about why DA is a garbage metric. I'll come back to that. That's a great one for the QA. I don't rant about that.
That's a whole nother webinar.
So it's about more than just domain authority, because domain authority is just I'm doing it now. Domain authority is a proxy, right, of a third-party tool like Moz or Ahrefs trying to emulate a small component of Google's link measurement system, the PageRank algorithm. It did differentiate itself. 1997 or so, Google comes out, and there are other search engines. It starts looking at the value of links. But there's so much more to a link than just how many other sites link to that and they pass that value on to you. There's anchor text. There's the page where it's placed. Who's reading that article? And what is the term or phrase that's being sent? So compared to non-branded keywords, branded keywords have 2 times higher conversion rates on average. And so that means that for particular queries, conversion rates can be even as high as 16 times higher than non-branded queries, dependent on your niche and depending on what you're trying to sell. So there's a huge aspect of your business, your visibility, your authority online that impacts your ability to convert customers, because there are so many signals that you can improve on once you know what those brand queries are. How do they perceive your brand? So action item, go to Google Search Console, apply a filter that that query must include your brand, and look for these things. Look for people who are trying to find your brand plus a coupon code or discounts. Look at, are they looking for a specific product of yours or a product service? A brand query, it means if you're CopyPress, if we're CopyPress, it'd be CopyPress is our brand, and somebody types in CopyPress, they're going to see a result with us. If they type in Nike, they're going to see a brand result. So So when you're looking at these Search Console queries, it's going to be, CopyPress coupon codes and discounts, or is CopyPress a scam? Now, watch out. If you have that, you've got some reputation management to do, maybe going back to product or your process, things that you need to shore up, because you don't want to see that. That's a red flag. But there are other things like knowing, is there a certain version? Are you doing an ongoing software, or have different versions of a product that are causing confusion or might need to be differentiated into different products, support documentation, because you can have a positive impact on your organization by decreasing your support costs. So knowing what the problems are, or the issues they're trying to solve associated with your brand, or know what they're associated with, you can create better support documentation, decrease the amount of support tickets, meaning you need to pay less on payroll for support staff. You get happier customers who remain with you longer, who don't churn out. If you're on a software model, there's all kinds of knockoff benefits for understanding your brand, understanding these queries, and understanding your customers. So how do we get more brand queries? Obviously, if Gal Gadot mentions your brand, people are going to be searching for it. Now, because it's not linked, it's an unlinked, so it's not a hyperlink, it's not passing DA, it's not passing link juice, but it is valuable. If you get mentioned in a radio ad, if you present at a large conference and you get mentioned, people are going to search based off of that brand name and try to find you. And Google knows about that. Google uses, it's trying to build an entity. It's not just a search query result. There are additional signals that it uses, like Wikipedia entries. And if you've ever tried to get a page into Wikipedia, you know that it is very difficult, because you have to be notable. And by notable, they mean that you have to have significant coverage in real journalistic outlets. So it can't just be fiveanddime.com published an article on you. You need to be published, referenced for doing something specifically, and hopefully that contains enough information written by that journalist for you to qualify and create your wiki page for your site. Because Wikipedia entry, Wikidata, is just one piece that Google uses to build a knowledge graph entry for your business, service, or product. Obviously, Apple's pretty big. It has a Wikipedia page and many other cited data sources, but there are plenty of smaller organizations that have taken the time to try to build their branded references, get placements of written content in places, get featured in articles, so that they capture that knowledge graph. So if it as an SEO, I come in the door and, sometimes you just narrow down and you filter out those branded queries and say, oh, that's the other marketing teams. I can't really impact that. I can look at the non-branded queries and write XYZ article, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because SEO includes branded queries. So there's so much value in going beyond just thinking about links, but also seeking mentions. Sabrina, I think you had something about connecting with publishers to get the ball rolling on this.
For sure. Yeah. So, here at CopyPress, and I often talk about our methods and our ways of going about that, is we have an entire team just for Content Connect. And so as they're going out and we have new clients and they're interested in link building, we are able to go and be a bit unique with the way we approach publishers. So you mentioned if someone was in the health and wellness space, really thinking of those allies you have within that space. So you don't just want to target people who are not your competitors. We're all in this together. A gym or a site that serves recipes up for healthy recipes. These are all really great opportunities to link and publish. And I know AI was kind of at the forefront of this and at the forefront of everyone's mind. That's really a unique piece that a human element is going to add in, is being able to make those human connections as opposed to just regurgitating what everybody else is doing. So in addition to subject matter experts, this is such a strong point for me. I also feel very similar about domain authority, maybe not as passionate as you, but these are all pieces that are so important, and thinking outside of the box, and not being, I guess, not getting upset or not feeling discouraged when you get like a no follow link, or if it has to be marked as sponsored, because like you said, just getting your brand name out there is so significant, and it really does and is going to make a difference in your SEO down the road.
Yeah, and that's what I like as we develop the Content Connect program with CopyPress, is we're looking at opportunities to publish content based off of metrics that aren't just narrowed down to DA. We're looking at, okay, how much traffic flows to this site overall? Is this like an A list site, a B list site, a C list site? And maybe we get it published, and this time there is a sponsored element to it, but we get so much traffic from it, and it's from a highly relevant source of people who are looking for X, that when you have a link to Y, it's tangential and it's relevant, and you get that relevant source of traffic. So traffic turns into conversions, and conversions turn into sales, and sales are money. So thinking about opportunities to get whole articles published, Brian wanted to make sure that we mentioned that the speaking tour, if you have somebody on your team who's kind of semi-well-known, it can benefit you if you seek publishers and opportunities to get them to post on other industry sites to build their cachet, build their visibility. So that might be a podcast here, that might be a published article that might have a no-follow attribute or not, and do posts around the industry where you're related, so that when you come back and you do your own webinar, it's your subject matter expert on oil changes, or oil change expert, and building that visibility. So there's opportunities to get in front of journalists. Turkle.com, I think it's .com. It's Turkle, I'm not sure if it's .com, and then Haro, Help a Reporter Out, are two tools where journalists are hanging out, slinging questions, trying to find experts. So go be an expert, look for those opportunities. You need to publish unique industry data. Do something distinctive that stands out. You might have have to set up an influencer campaign where you hire an industry expert, put them under contract to create content for you, speak for you, create videos for you. I know, one of the largest PCB companies out there, they use a team of both influencers and specific industry experts to craft and create and moderate their content on a regular basis, and use them to publish and promote content, not exclusively looking only for, is it a DA50 site? Well, I don't want it. None of that nonsense. Think about the value of potentially traffic, look at your brand mentions and the value that you can bring to your site. At the end of the day, if you're creating something valuable with your organization, unique, relevant, authoritative content showing expertise gets referenced and cited by others. If you want the best long range, best value link building advice, is you need to be publishing something that is referenceable. I mean, that's ultimately what a link is. It's a connection from one topic to another. If you have nothing of value on your site other than I'm selling this thing, it's hard to get a link. And you're going to probably run into a lot of blocks to getting that visibility, those organic links naturally without paying for them. But if you can find and tap into some data, create some useful resource or tool, or have an aspect or opinion or share expertise that's of value to the people that you're trying to service, you're going to get cited, you're going to get links, and you're going to get traffic. Do you have anything? I think I'm about to wrap up.
I think just final thoughts from me is cumulatively, all this together is just trying to help you and anyone who's out there with a business build that authority and really understand that it's more of a holistic way of going about it outside of exactly what you said, looking for DA50 and getting links to it. It's creating quality content with people that have experience and expertise in that area, so you're able to put something forth that's useful for your visitors, it's useful for the people who are coming to your site. Ultimately, that's going to be the biggest. If you go about something only to try to get a sale and get one over on people, people will notice and it will start to reflect in your rankings. So going about things in, let's not say altruistic, but maybe in a more organic and wholesome way to get this information out is going to benefit you so much more in the long run.
All right, so let's see what questions and answers, what answers we can dish up to questions. I know how that works. Questions lead to answers.
Okay, yeah. So this is kind of getting into what you had talked about earlier about domain authority and other metrics. So you said that metrics like domain authority are flawed. Without relying on those types of metrics at all, how can someone identify and vet sites for outreach without just looking at numbers and tools or third-party, that kind of third-party data?
It was a little bit snarky of a tweet, but I called it a sniff test, and I had like an acronym for should I trust this site? How awful is this site? Inspect this site. Like if you pull up a page and it's chock full of ads, it takes forever to load. You look at the related articles, they're all over the place topically, then you're on a content farm. So there's a gut check moment. You go to it, you're like, this doesn't look right. Like they're talking about Ireland vacation trips and circuit boards, and like it's a sniff test. Like go there, read the article, see who the author is. Like there's all of that stems from actually going to the article where you're trying to vet. Google has a quality rater guideline sheet that gives them a checklist of things to answer. So you can pull up that list and use that as your own gut checklist. But for myself, it takes about 15 seconds to look and see, okay, this is a cheesy stock photo cited from Flickr. There's no headers on this content. It doesn't really work. And the next 15 articles aren't related at all. This isn't a good place to publish. The only people that are coming here are being tricked to arrive here through search engine optimization. This isn't a real authoritative site. Exactly. You can also check their social media, because if they're a fly-by-night organization, they probably won't have posted or done any marketing or pushed anything or created anything. Search Engine Journal is not a scam organization. They're constantly pushing and promoting and talking from their profiles and authors who contribute or are discussing things. So there's the pulse there. Check for the pulse of the site. And you can go to Ahrefs or another party tool and see generally, is the site healthy? Is the traffic on the upswing, or is it on the upswing and then phew, like you can use third-party tools to get an idea of generally, okay, what's their most popular article? Just click on the top pages, see what their top 5 posts are. If they are all in the same vein, maybe you found a good site. If they're all cruises in Jamaica, how to define your circuit board, and makeup tips for Ruby Tuesday, something's not right. Like if you're really building a publishing source as a site, you kind of stay in your lane. You don't go from makeup to travel. That's where you get
crypto to online casinos. Right? Yeah.
Sniff test, eye test. Don't rely on DA because it can be gamed. You can buy 500.blogspot.com links and get a DA score up into the 50s, into the 80s. It doesn't, it's easily abused. I had a thread about it. I did a whole video. It was the most interactive thing I did on Twitter in the past month. It's a garbage metric. I think I answered that. Next.
One thing that's also overlooked too is that, especially on the local level, there's a lot of businesses that are much more active on social media. Like, to your point, their footprint is more on social media and even in the Google business profile than is invested in their site. But their site, that does not mean that their site is not poor. I mean, that doesn't mean that their site is poor. It just means that their business has a much larger footprint outside of the site itself. So even get on the resource page of a site that's maybe 6 pages long and doesn't have a lot of inbound links, but Google knows is an authority, is influential within a certain space, can still be quite beneficial as well. And it can only grow over time. One question that we had that came in about AI is, how important is it to show that an article has been fact-checked or edited for quality assurance now that AI content is becoming more and more mainstream? And does this include the impact? Does fact-checking have any impact on the rankings themselves?
Yeah, so obviously if you, so again, that PCB customer, that I worked with at another agency, they had writers, and then they had an expert team that would audit and overview those articles for accuracy. Does it reflect what's new in the industry? Did the software change? Did the technology change behind the scenes? So those types of things are very important. Do we, we have experience at CopyPress doing fact-checking work?
We do. One of our largest clients, we do fact checking, and we're kind of going back through and finding experts and sourcing experts to lend like a fact check byline essentially to it. And I know personally, just as a person who uses Google, I feel a lot more confident, like you said, looking to buy something. I know in the auto space, feel a lot more confident when it's been fact checked by somebody who is an auto expert, or they have, firsthand knowledge on that product. WebMD is another really good example. If you're asking that question, think if you're going on WebMD, do you feel comfortable if it just goes written by WebMD staff, or do you want to see that there's been an actual doctor, MD or PhD or someone co-signing that? So yeah, I think that's a hugely helpful, especially the more niche of a topic and the more important of a topic that you're sourcing and you're sharing on. So
yeah, and I know I've seen it a couple of times in the chat, but I'll definitely echo it. If you are using generative AI as a part of your process, you must have a fact check and editing process at the end of it, because ChatGPT, it's a parrot, and it's taking its database of information based off of previous queries and creating something that sounds good. Call out your dad when he's, making stuff up. Was it really a little old lady who crashed into your car, or did you run the red light and crash into her? Do a little bit of fact checking, a little bit of critical thinking, and always with AI. Generative tools in their current form, you do need to have a qualitative process at the end of it. And there are knockoff positive benefits and effects by using a fact-checking team. You're going to speak accurately to the problem. You're going to have a second set of eyes touching that piece of content. So it is more expensive, but it's going to be a higher quality product at the end.
Lauren, you're on mute.
Oh, whoops. We're almost at the hour mark already, but I'm going to get one more question come in. Christopher Pittman asks, if EEAT is not a ranking factor, how can we be certain that Google will reward quality author-written content over AI-generated results in the SERPs?
So I give that qualifier of EEAT is not a defined single, they're not creating a EEAT score, but EEAT as a model is something where each piece of that represents multiple signals that Google is continuing to fine tune. So it could be a combination of the anchor text links that the article is getting versus including phrases and terminology. It could be that it's using machine learning and semantic analysis to understand keyword coupling from different terms and phrases that combine, references to I, me, experience. There's a whole lexicon of terms and terminology that you use when you're speaking as a person in authoritative first person about your interaction with an object in an interaction in an industry. And so don't ignore the capability of Google to parse and understand synonyms, understand related terms and terminology, and be able to weight how content is written. They do have, again, the quality raters guidelines are kind of a reflection of where they would like the algorithm to be able to go. They are using RankBrain. They're using their own AI internal systems on multiple levels and systems. Follow Patrick Stocks. He's been talking and pushing out little pieces of information about how search engines work. And he did a seminar at PubCon. If you can get the deck, it breaks down each of the pieces of search engines, from storing data in shards and groups to breaking it out. And there's dozens of layers of pieces of information that I only knew in passing. And I've been doing this a long time. So there's so many pieces to the puzzle of how Google ranks these things that we don't want to miss an opportunity to follow some really solid advice, to have expertise, to have authoritativeness, to build trust. All of those things really should be at the core of quality rating, quality content that you're creating anyways. So knowing that it is backed by Google's own publishing, saying, hey, these are the things we value, that's going to lead you to creating content that's better, that's easier to promote, that's easier to get cited and linked, and leads to better results overall. So that's my mindset around mindset to it. Is EEAT isn't a ranking signal specifically, but it is a mentality and focus of content creation that can help you craft and create content that gets links, gets visibility, and converts them into customers.
Yeah, I just thank you for that, Jeremy. That was fantastic, and Sabrina as well. And we're over time. One thing I'd like to add there is that, instead of thinking how AI content may outrank you, think about how you may be the source that's cited for the AI content that's given back by Google when BART rolls out 100%
Yep.
or at all, and Bing, and currently Neeva. DuckDuckGo, I'm not too happy with their AI because they source Wikipedia for everything. And I think the first thing you learn in elementary school now is never to source Wikipedia, right? So you don't resource Payola to do that. But all of these AI search functionalities that are they're evolving on a daily basis.
They're going to have to cite something.
They're citing something, and they're citing sites that are utilizing EEAT, that show what your sources are, that show that it's professionals writing it, and everything else. So don't just think about search as being those 10 links anymore, because this is evolving faster than we know. The more that you invest in having quality content, subject expert matters, or subject matter experts, your internal linking, third-party citing, everything else, means that you have a higher chance of being one of the sources and the citations that are utilized by these AI tools as they're answering questions and helping people out, which is a new form of search, and it's a new form of funneling someone that has the intent to find that information, possibly buy your product, back into your site. So
Yes.
While at the same time you may be thinking, hey, how can we outright and out EAT or out EAT AI. Also think at the end of the day how AI is going to use you to be a source for its content as it's delivering it to the end user.
Yeah,
So-
and the more, that opens that mentality of beyond the link, if you can get more content placed that has your particular messaging and spin on it, that's going to be the food that feeds the beast.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sabrina and Jeremy, for joining us today, and for the CopyPress team partnering with SEJ to put together today's SEJ webinar. Just as a reminder to all participants and attendees, the video and slides from today's webinar will be made available. And then any questions that we did not get a chance to answer, we're going to send over to the both of you, and you're going to answer it within a 24-hour period, more or less. So put on a pot of coffee. But we're going to answer for our recap, which should be published in about a week. Our next SEJ webinar is going to be on, I believe this is a typo here, so maybe not. Maybe we're doubling this up with BidBrain, Wednesday, March 29th at 12 p.m. Eastern, and Thursday, March 30th at 9 a.m. Eastern with Maylen Blomberg, CEO of BidBrain. We're getting back into AI with Google Shopping and 5 ways AI can increase e-commerce sales and profit. So as you see, there's a trend here. I heard PubCon was more of AICon. So this is definitely what everyone's talking about. And I'm glad to see that companies like CopyPress and BidBrain are on top of this and delivering this to our SEJ audience. So thank you again for doing today's webinar and presentation. And thank you for all of you that had the chance to attend and participate and ask these great questions that we'll be sending over. So thank you very, very much, and have a great rest of your day.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye.